सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। We are in the 6th mantra. Repeat after me. त्वं गुणत्रयातीतः त्वं देहत्रयातीतः त्वं कालत्रयातीतः त्वं मूलाधारस्थितोऽसि नित्यम् त्वं शक्तित्रयात्मकः त्वां योगिनो ध्यायन्ति नित्यम् त्वं ब्रह्मा त्वं विष्णुस्त्वं रुद्रस्त्वम् इन्द्रस्त्वम् अग्निस्त्वम् वायुस्त्वम् सूर्यस्त्वम् चन्द्रमास्त्वम् ब्रह्म भूर्भुवस्वरोम्।
Yesterday we saw till the Kalatrayatitaha. Tvam Kalatrayatitaha. Yesterday we left off from the understanding that the past, present and future is just a mere point of reference. What do I mean by point of reference? From the status that we are, it appears that there is a linear motion of time, that there is a past, there is a present and there will be a future. This is how we have grown up seeing various cause and effects. But even at a physical level, if you take a standpoint that somebody is standing on a tall building, their range of space as it increases, their past, present, future is different than from those who are sitting at the base of that building. For them, the past, present, future is redefined. Now, raising the mind to certain extent wherein it has transcended the space, and when the space itself looks like a bindu, and an attribute of that space becomes time, so past, present, future is just a spot. Is it possible? Now, if logically the first gross example is possible, then subtlety as it increases in our sadhana, it should also happen. So there are certain masters who talk about past, present, future of anybody. Anybody who goes in front of them, they talk. Is it some kind of a magic? Probably not. Because from their standpoint, there is just this moment. And in this moment, there is no differentiation of past, present and future. Tvam kalatrayatitaha. You are beyond the influence of past, present, future. Some translations define this as you are the present moment. But even that definition falls short. Why? Whenever somebody asks us of time, what time is it? Technically our answer should be, it was 7:38. Why? Because by the time I look into my watch, look at the time, grasp it, process it, and then answer, that particular moment has already gone by. So we are already referring to a past moment. So when I say I am living in the present moment, cognizing the present moment already has put it in the time frame of past. The moment we all come to cognize that, wow, this is a moment to remember, it's already gone. It's a past. So it is not being in the present moment, but being as the presence. Now when you talk of the presence, it is devoid of past, present, future. That moment is just. Or the moment just is. Tvam kalatraya titaha. You are beyond the three or the impacts of three times, past, present, future, and you are the very presence. Tvam kalatraya titaha. Tvam mooladhara sthitosi nityam. In our body, physical body, we have different chakras. What are these chakras? These chakras are recognized as the meeting point of various resources of energy. And it lies on our spinal cord. There's a lot to talk about it. I don't know how much I will get across. Our entire body has 72,001 nerves. So if you go to a physiology class, you will come to recognize 72,000 of them. That 72,001, that is not a physical nadi or a physical nerve, but it is a subtle one. And this subtle nerve is called, if you go through the Ayurvedic texts, they'll name 72,000 nerves. Each one of them has a name for it. Anyway, today it's not an Ayurvedic class, so let us focus on that one. So that 72,001 is named as Sushumna Nadi, representing the most subtle Sukshmatvat Sushumna. Because it is the subtlest of these nadis, it is called Sushumna Nadi. On this Sushumna Nadi, or it would not be right to say on this Sushumna Nadi, around this Sushumna Nadi, there are these chakras. In total, 7 of them, starting from the Mooladhara, going all the way up to the Sahasrara. These are the main 7 chakras. There are some auxiliary chakras, wherever there is a nerve joint, the nerves coming to join, that also can be recognized as a chakra, but in this particular path we focus on these 7 important ones which are around the Sushumna Nadi. We have in the nostrils 2 holes. One is called Ida and the other one is called Pingala. Now the balance between these two, it enables us to keep various things under balance, especially the temperature and pressure. See, we unconsciously put this body through such a huge trauma throughout the day. You are in office space or any other space, it is not cool, it is cold. I know of many people who go to their office wearing a sweater because it is cold. And then you step out of the office, then there is, Texan heat. So there is almost a difference of, anywhere between 10 to 20 degrees of variation. So how is it that the body has the ability to maintain the body temperature at 37 degrees Celsius? There is some mechanism. One is called Ida, the other one is called Pingala, and the balance between these two, the body regulates the temperature and the pressure of the body. So in and through, when we go in and out, in and out. So when you are in a colder environment, the body has to generate a little more heat. When you are in the hotter environment, it has to produce a cooling effect, so that the body temperature remains constant, the pressure remains constant. A further study of this Ida and Pingala, it introduces to the regulation of the breathing pattern through these Ida and Pingala. And that is called pranayama. And a lot of it has to be done in practical, but what you are getting is just the theoretical information. I won't even put it under the category of knowledge, theoretical information, statistical data. So the regulation between the two nostrils, there are 4 stages. What are these 4 stages? These 4 stages are called Puraka, Rechaka. Puraka जो पूरा करता है, that which fills you up, inhalation. Rechaka, exhalation. So this we normally do. So the regulation comes into picture when there is kumbhaka. Kumbhaka, withholding the breathing process for few moments. And this kumbhaka is of 2 types. Antar kumbhaka and bahir kumbhaka. Internally withholding the breath and externally holding it off. So Puraka, then you hold the breath, Antar kumbhaka, Rechaka, and then you hold the breath outside, Bahir kumbhaka. 4 steps. With different permutations of these 4 steps through the Ida and Pingala, combination of Ida and Pingala. So if you look at the permutations, there are infinite number of permutations that can be done. There is a specific science behind it, which Patanjali's Yoga Sutras indicate. And it is also indicated through the Hatha Yoga Pratipika by Swami Atmarama, who has further given nuances into Patanjali Yoga Sutras. These 2 texts are supposed to be the most authentic texts on the pranayama and the use of pranayama to this specific need here, wherein this pranayama helps to raise that kundalini. Now here a word of warning. Usually you don't see in our platform, Chinmaya Mission platform, we talk about pranayama. We are not experts at it. Let me put it in the easiest way. This pranayama is a very powerful method. Just because you all can read English or Hindi, can you all read English? Yes. There are enough number of books out there which talk about pranayama and the snake energy. That is how the books are titled. The Kundalini Shakti, the serpent energy. My word of caution to you all is, just because you can read it, don't immediately start putting it into practice. It needs somebody who is qualified in that particular field to guide you step by step. I'll tell you also what happens as a caution, as a warning. Just because we can read the books, we feel inspired. Let me try it. The Kundalini Shakti which arises from Mooladhara, which we will come back to, Mooladhara Sthitosi Nityam. It, if not guided properly with the regulations of the breathing pattern and various other practices, this energy can shoot into any one of the other 72,000 nerve points. So what will happen? There is an excessive energy. Imagine if there is a dam and from the dam there is a pipeline. There is a process, there is a system, right? It comes to the local tanks, those huge water tanks. And from there is a bigger pipe which comes to the community. From the bigger pipe, it becomes a smaller pipe. Imagine if this smaller pipe is directly connected to the source from the dam. What will happen to that pipe? Possibilities are million. Anything can happen. So if this kind of amazing energy goes shooting into these different nadis, medically you will be declared fit. But only the one who is going through that pain understands how painful it is to sustain that energy there. So there has to be a reverse process done to pull that energy out and put it back in Mooladhara and to reassign it. If without guidance, then it is called a Scud missile. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we have seen the Scud missiles. You shoot one direction, it goes in totally different direction. It's totally a different target. But if guided well, then it is like a Patriot missile. It goes dot onto that particular mark. And where is the mark of this Kundalini Shakti? It has to raise all the way up to Sahasrara. This is one aspect of the Kundalini Shakti. The other aspect of Kundalini Shakti is that Kundalini Shakti can also be raised through the Upasana methods. And that Upasana method is being highlighted here, wherein each one of these chakras, there is a Adhisthana Daiva, a presiding deity. And that presiding deity on the Mooladhara is called our Ganeshji. The rest of the mantras that we will go through, when we come through that, we will see that the entire description of that Lord Ganesha. This Mooladhara, all these 7 chakras are represented through a lotus. At each level they have a different color, a certain ascertained number of petals, Sahasrara being the 1000-petaled lotus, which is right here in the top of the head. And that Sahasrara, when they're small babies, you can see a soft spot here. It's exactly there centered. And from there it opens up, 1000 petals. When all this energy goes in there, opening up one layer after other, all these 1000 petals, 1000 layers, they open up, fully blossomed. The Mooladhara has got 4 petals. And this Mooladhara, the color, today I am not going to focus on the entire Kundalini chakras and other things. So refrain from questioning any other chakra. Let us just focus here, because I can see that building up. So I am not going to focus beyond this. So let us stay focused on this. So the Mooladhara is red in color, 4-petaled lotus, which is right at the tip of our spinal cord, where the spinal cord seemingly turns a little outwardly. And that is where the the botanists, they say, we must have had an extension outwardly. That our, the species ancestors had a tail, and now we have detailed. That detail has gone, so detailed. right there it starts. And it is the form of Ganesha that has to be invoked, meditated upon at that Mooladhara. Tvam Mooladhara Sthitosi Nityam. You are ever present at that Mooladhara. At this moment, I will only introduce so much. Because the Upasana part, the Rishi himself explains it further. He defines it into the mantra and the Tantra portion. So that we will see it when we come. How do we meditate upon? That's why yesterday said, tomorrow we are going to have a in-depth Upasana process, don't miss it. Tvam Mooladhara Sthitosi Nityam. There is a second meaning. The second meaning is, Moola means the source, the root. You are the root cause for everything in this cosmos. I don't know if the God particle is the God particle, but definitely here he talks about, the Rishi here portrays that you are the root cause for everything. Everything sources out itself, branches out itself from you, the source, Paramatma. And how is this source? Nityam, eternal. So there is no Kshaya dosha. What is Kshaya dosha? See, there is, we have been taking examples of food, right? So in order to make dosa, let us understand through the making of dosa, the dosha. So when you have the batter, you have a certain quantity that you can make. As many dosas that are made, that much batter is reduced. There would be a point wherein the entire source is completed. What happens to those dosas? Swaha, aha. So goes inside, comes out as aha. Then don't ask people to chant Omkar. Only Dakar that comes out. And Dakar cannot be translated into English. I know you can say it verb, but it doesn't have the same punch like Omkara and Dakara. So in that particular example, that the existing source of batter reduces, that is called Kshaya, consumed, finished. Paramatma is not having that Kshaya dosha. Being eternal, always supporting the different forms that come out, everything remains a constant. And probably that is what even the scientists say, that matter and energy can neither be destroyed, can neither be created. It is only remodulated in different formats. It remains constant. Why? Because the source is constant. Paramatma is constant. Tvam Mooladhara Sthitosi Nityam. You are the Adhara. You are not just the source, but you are also the support, Adhara. And you remain Sthitaha Asi. You remain as that support, Nityam, eternal. Tvam Mooladhara Sthitosi Nityam. And how do you manage this entire creation? Tvam Shaktitrayatmakaha. So after listening to the meaning of this, you may pounce on the Rishi, not on me. Because the original was done by some Rishi, Ganaka Rishi. Because here he says, in the beginning he says, Tvam Gunatrayatitaha. You are beyond these gunas, beyond this effect of gunas. And then he says, Tvam Shaktitrayatmakaha. Here, many people get confused if you define that Shakti as the Maya expressing in Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic. But here the Shakti can be otherwise defined as the Ichha, Jnana, Kriya Shakti. Ichha Shakti, the desire. Jnana Shakti, the know-how. Kriya Shakti, the skill. All three of them. We are supposed to be the Ishvara of this body. And how many components do we have to put them in balance, to keep them in balance? Not much actually. 12 components, that's all. And with these 12 combinations, we get so frustrated and overwhelmed. What are these 12 components? 5 organs of action, 5 organs of perception, 1 mind, 1 intellect. That's all. Right? It runs such a havoc. Knowing each one of them, knowing what it can be applied into, gaining the mastery and control, and then expressing skillfully. But that Ishvara has complete control over his Shakti. Because at the Jiva level we lose that control, we are called in avidya. At the Ishvara sthiti, it is called completely under control. Hence, therefore, the one who is directing the energy. There, at the totality level, it is called Maya. At an individuality level, it is called avidya. Why? Just because at that totality level, it is under control. At the individuality level, it is out of control. Ichha, Jnana, Kriya, in that very sequence. When not in that sequence, trouble oh trouble. We have lots of Ichha, but no either Jnana Shakti or Kriya Shakti. Imagine how frustrated that individual will be. Lots of craving, but don't know how to fulfill and don't know how to skillfully reach there. Even if we have only 2 of them, still it will be frustrating. When we are young, we have Ichha Shakti and Kriya Shakti. When do we realize that we have become old? When we are left with Ichha Shakti and Jnana Shakti. There is no more Kriya Shakti. See, a classic example is in Ramayana. All these Vanaras along with Jambavan in search of Sita ji come to the shores, the tip bottom of Bharata. Having come there, now each one of them looks across. They have been informed by Jatayu's brother Sampati that Sita ji is there. It is 100 yojanas. Whoever can jump, whoever can go across, you can find Sita ji there. So Jambavan starts. Back in those days, when I was young, when Lord took the form of Vaturupa, Vamana Rupa, and he expanded himself and put his 3 feet, one on the earth, one on the heavens, and the third on Bali. While he was busy doing that, I was busy running around the globe 7 times, doing pradakshina of that Vamana. Meaning in that fraction of few moments, he could run around the globe 7 times. But beta, ab to main buddha ho gaya hu. I have become old, can't really manage that. Even coming this far walking has been really quite something. So whenever we come to that stage, that instead of looking at what is our skill set and how can we execute now, we start thinking about those days. Then we have become old, technically old. You may not agree, but that is where we have reached. When we are young, we have Ichha Shakti, and that when the Ichha and the Ich, they both are little close by. So as soon as there is that Ichha, there is a desire, there is that itch. Without even thinking, we jump into action. And then repent. Sometimes we are so fabulous that we make mistakes, and we also sing that we make mistakes. Oops, I did it again. कितनी बार गाओगे? How many times do we repeat the same thing again and again? And our Balvihar children here, they have amazing grasp. So they interpret. So Swamiji, is it okay to do new mistakes every time? We are not supposed to do the old mistake. At least can I repeat the same new mistakes again and again? I said, be inventive. Try. Else how will you learn? But having them all in one sequence of order of Ichha, supported by Jnana, executed masterfully out. It has to be expressed that skillfully. Tvam Shaktitrayatmakaha. In the Ichha Shakti, you express as, the Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. There is a slight in-depth variation here. Try to catch it. Because the moment there is an Ichha Shakti, the urge to create, the other 2 aspects of sustenance and remodifying also have been given a scope to express. Then there is the phase wherein a lot of time is spent on acquiring that knowledge, that is called tapasya. Lot of research, lot of time spent in acquiring that knowledge, and then expressing out in creation. Ichha, Jnana, Kriya. So you are the one who is the very embodiment of these 3 Shaktis. Tvam Shaktitrayatmakaha. From Gunatrayatitaha to Shaktitrayatmakaha, the Rishi says, Tvam yogino dhyayanti nityam. Yoginaha, all those who are the yogis. Who are the yogis? Those who go to the yoga studio? No. Did I tell you my practical prank on somebody? There's somebody who came and said, Swamiji, do you teach yoga? I said, yes. I said, what time? Those days I used to come to the first session. I said, 9 o'clock Sunday. Poor fellow, he came in the track suits and with a yoga mat under his arm. And he sees all the kids sitting, there is no space. Then there are the adults. So he patiently waits. He thinks that, okay, prayers are going on. So very attentively does the prayers. And then, after the prayers are done, then I start speaking on Bhagavad Gita. So he is little feeling out of place. Like, what exactly is happening? There is no yoga happening here. Everybody has come in their kurta, pajama and chudidar. How will they do yoga? And there is a lot of questions running in his head. And he listens through. And as soon as I wind up with that lecture is done, then he comes straight and, you said you would teach yoga. I said, yes. But you never even taught. I said, what you heard is called Jnana Yoga. But you didn't tell me, you didn't ask me. Isn't there something, don't tell, don't ask, don't tell something? I don't know. So you didn't ask, I didn't tell. There are 4 yogas: Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Dhyana Yoga in the Vedanta Siddhanta. In the Yoga Siddhanta there is Hatha Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. And the 4th step of Ashtanga Yoga is recognized as Yoga Asanas, which abbreviated. We know here everything is abbreviated. So they call it yoga. So here it is not that they are, as somebody asked Gurudev, Swamiji, why don't you start, you have such a good program, why don't you also include yoga in here? Gurudev has this smart way of putting things. So he said, I believe in straightening the mind rather than twisting the body. So let me focus on that rather than twisting mine and others. So here yoginaha means those who are prayatnashilaha, those who are constantly putting effort towards realization, towards moksha. They are called yogi, whichever path that they have chosen. Such yoginaha tvam, you, dhyayanti nityam, they meditate upon you constantly. How do they meditate? They meditate upon you as gunatrayatitaha, avasthatrayatitaha, dehatrayatitaha, kalatrayatitaha, mooladharaha, shaktitrayatmakaha. And hence therefore their experience is Tvam Brahma, Tvam Vishnustvam, Rudrastvam, Indrastvam, Agnistvam, Vayustvam, Suryastvam, Chandramastvam. The first line says, they meditate upon you as Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. They meditate upon you as the creator, sustenance and recycling. Destruction, we have a very destructive meaning to it, so I changed using it. Tvameva, you are the very expression. And from that ultimate standpoint, even a guru is worshipped in that same standpoint. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha. How can a guru become, the Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara? Gurureva Parabrahma, because Guru itself is that Paramatma, Parabrahma. So similarly here, the Ganapatyas, worshippers of Lord Ganesha, they invoke Ganesha as the trinity of creative surge, maintaining and recycling. Tvam Brahma, Tvam Vishnustvam, Rudrastvam. Not just in creation but also in its maintenance, there are various natural forces. And the one who is in charge of all of them, and these are the next layer of deities, or in English it is very difficult, demigods. They are Indra, Agni, Vayu, various natural forces, that which maintain this universe in balance. Indra is there, Raja, king of all these gods. So you are verily Indra, you are verily the Agni, you are verily the Vayu. And yesterday we have seen that you are Bhumihi, Apaha, Analaha, Anilaha, and then Akasha. So you are Agni, Vayu, you are the Surya and Chandrama. Everything in this cosmos is your expression alone. Therefore, when we chant in our pledge, service to humanity is the service to the Lord of Lords. We serve, and those who are being served, it's not because they have not, but it is the form of service of the Lord in that form of a human. Hence, therefore, it is my opportunity and privilege to serve the rest of them. And that is what he says, that the entire cosmos, entire universe is verily your form alone. Tvam Brahma, Brahma Bhurbhuvaswarom. Bhuhu, this world. Bhuvaha, the higher world. Suvaha, the lower world. All these three worlds, actually there are 14 worlds if you go into details. Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Patala, Talatala, Rasatala. No, I am not saying a dialogue. These are the lower worlds, then there are the higher worlds. But here all of them are indicated through this Bhurbhuvaswaha. So the entire cosmos, entire string of various universes put together, all of them are verily your expression alone. Do you attend the Arati sometimes? So a part of the Arati is Devadevasya, Devata Sarvabhaumasya, Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayakasya. So what does the third word mean? Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayakasya. Our system here is called the galaxy, Milky Way. Like this, there are Koti. Koti does not mean a crore. Or how much is 1 crore? 10 million. So it is not exactly amounting to 10 million, but it says infinite is the possibility of the expanse of creations. Ours is not the only universe. So is there a possibility of some other beings out there? There is definitely a possibility. and they are more intelligent than us. You know why? Because they never tried contacting us. That shows their intelligence. Oh, human beings, stay away from them. And all this is an expression of you, O Lord. Akhil, Brahma Bhur Bhuvaswarom. What do they meditate upon specifically? So the mantra portion is taken. The mantra portion also has two parts. One is the Siksha of the mantra. Siksha of the mantra. The various phonetics and the other ingredients involved in that mantra are explained. Then the mantra is given. So that mantra portion of the upasana is being given before we enter into upasana. What is upasana? How is this upasana to be done? Upasana technically means upa-asana, sitting closest to. So with that definition, for Ganesha, Atharva, Sirsha, these two seem to be the upasakas because they are sitting closest to. But it is not about the physical placing where you are seated, but the closest that takes you to the core of your own being, the center of consciousness being, that which takes us towards that is called upasana. There are various methods employed. One of the most user-friendly techniques. Why is it a user-friendly technique? Because human mind works in a certain condition, and that conditioning usually is interrelated between a name and a form. There has to constantly be a name, and the name has to be associated with the form is associated again with that name. Many times it happens. You recognize the form, but you are not able to tag the form. I'm talking of myself, okay? Of the congregation, there is 1,000 plus. So I recognize every form. I shouldn't claim that also. Because sometimes, most of the times when they come here, they are in their Indian attire, Indian best. Sometimes when I find them outside, they're totally in a different form. And they come and say, Hari Om Swamiji. I said, Kaun hai bhai? Totally unrecognizable. Sorry, I come to your third session. Okay. Still I can't recognize the form. Let us take an example. Usually this thing is green in color. On an average, the size of your finger. It has a little stalk on the top, and it is like a conical ending at the end of it. When you bite into it, it is spicy hot. Did you all figure that out? So I told you the attributes of that form, and you could recognize the name. And this other thing also is little roundish in shape. At the very end it curls itself a little bit, cutely. When it grows to its full size, it is almost this size. There is a huge seed in it. When you cut it, that tangy smell, then you apply salt and red chili powder. You know, what is the experience that I see right now? Most of you who have recognized it, the first thing that you recognize, the moment I knew that you recognized it, the instant reaction was, because you not only imagined it, but you also tried experiencing it. What is it? A raw mango. So you give the attributes, describe the form, you are able to identify the name. You give the name, you are able to identify the form and its attributes. Orange, what comes into your mind? So some said color, some said fruit, some said my clothes. The first time somebody asked me it recently, and I said county. The moment somebody said orange, what comes into your mind? I said county. So that reminded me I have stayed in this country too long. It should remind me of my color of clothes at least. The moment you say the name of a person, you think of that person. So the name and form is deeply associated with the processing of our mind. What is this? Can you go into more specifics? More specifics? My wristwatch. How did you know that it was a wristwatch? You have had various experiences, millions of wristwatches that you have seen. And all these forms have been captured in our memory. And we have various tags added in. And this memory is constantly kept afresh. You know, there are these YouTube videos. And the videos have tags. The idea being, when you type in that tag word, it should identify that video. Similarly up here, the processing. That there are so many various kinds, various methods that we have tagged these things along. You mention, you know, some name, Pushpa. Oh, that sweet lady. Oh, what sweet? Terrible, you know. Each one have their own tags. Separate tags, and we recognize them through those tags. This is how mind works. Parabrahma Paramatma. It's as good as saying Damadaka Duchi. Have you ever eaten Damadaka Duchi? You stayed all your life in US and you have not had it? Your life is wasted. You would not have experienced Damadaka Duchi because it is non-existent. I just created it. Some blah 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 words. Parabrahma Paramatma. What comes into mind? Zilch, blank. Because the the mind functions from a known realm to the unknown realm rather than from the unknown to the known. So the method of upasana, the method of meditation given is through an idol. Through that idol, we are aiming for the ideal behind that idol. See, many of us carry family photo, children's photo, wife's photo in our purses. Do you? Okay, some said yes, some said firmly no. Those of you who carry it, why do you carry it? So that it reminds you of them. Though it is just a piece of paper with some color smeared in certain pattern, but you carry that so that it reminds you of them. The paper is a representative, the paper is indicative of that which reminds you of your family. Those of you who are not carrying one, maybe after you hear this story, you will change your mind and start carrying one. And there was this seminar going and the chief executive was in troubled waters. Really, he was miserable in that seminar. So it was a 5-day seminar. By the 3rd day, he was totally drained. So his colleague comes and says, let's go wind off. Let's go to the restaurant, eat, and not think of anything. Let's have some pleasant time. Then maybe we come back, look at it, we'll get a better picture. So they go to a restaurant. As they order, waiting for their order to be brought in, this chief executive pulls out his wallet, and from the wallet he takes out his wife's photo. And then he looks at her very deeply, intensely. And then puts that back and says, you know what, I think we will have a solution tomorrow. And that colleague looked at this fellow and said, how sweet of you. At such moments, you look at your wife's photograph for such inspiration. He said, yes, of course. And she must be lucky. So he said, no, you're taking it in the other sense. If I could live with her for 25 years, I can deal with anything in this world. So think about it. Start carrying photographs. Now what was that chief executive doing with that photograph? He was doing upasana. So the rishis have developed this beautiful method that we have the form of the Lord and various upacharas done, meditated upon. And one of the key elements in that upasana method is the mantra. And what does that mantra, Ganesha mantra mean? So that is given in this 7th part of the mantra. Please repeat after me. Ganadiim purvamucharya Varnadiim stadanantaram Anuswara parataraha Ardhe endulasitam Tarena ruddham Etattava manuswarupam Gakara purvarupam अकारो मध्यम रूपम् अनुस्वारश्चान्त्य रूपम् बिन्दुरुत्तर रूपम् नादसन्धानम् सगंहिता सन्धिः सैषा गणेश विद्या गणकर्षिः निच्छ्रद्गायत्री छन्दः गणपतिर्देवता ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। गणादीं पूर्वमुच्चार्य वर्णादीं तदनन्तरं, they are trying to make sure that the mantra, what does the mantra mean? Mantra is mananat trayate iti mantraha. That which when focused upon to meditate removes us from all limitations. Trayate iti mantra. In a simple language, it is a formula. And that is why they have taken the pain of the entire 7th mantra spent on describing the formula so that it will not be ruined over a period of time. Language especially gets beaten up. So probably there was a day when we would be greeting each other, we would have been in the past. How are you doing? What is happening? This would have been the way of addressing each other. Now, from that entire sentence, a portion of it gets dropped. How are you doing? What's happening? All that is gone. And some picked up, how do you do? Some picked up, what's happening? Now what's happening got little morphed into, what's up? Now it has to come with that attitude. What's up? Now what's up became, what's up? Again with the same attitude, what's up? Now, especially when you go into the colleges, sab bhi purana ho gaya. They don't even say what's up. See, culturally it was a shock for me. Coming from India, wherein a stranger comes and looks at you and says this, it is almost like threatening. Why are you, what the heck are you doing here? It's not your time and space, please get out. It almost means that. Kya hai, huh? That was the interpretation. And you come here, then the understanding of that shortened, abbreviated, it's not how do you do, how are you doing, or what is happening, nothing. Not even what's up, not even sup. And the response is also very similar. You don't say, doing good, thank you, nothing. So across you will see people. So the language has come down to that, what you may call, has become what you may call. how do you do has become howdy. I mean, so the rishis understood that if left with this vocabulary pattern, mantra ka faluda ban jayega. Mantra will never retain its original shape or form as intended. So they spent the entire 7th mantra on describing it. The indicated mantra is Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Okay. And how do they describe it? Ganadi im purvamucharya varnadi im stadanantaram. It starts with the word Gana. Gana adim followed by etc. But the first one is Ganadi im purvamucharya. Followed are different syllables, varna. Tadanantaram. Anuswarah parataraha. The varna gam. It is followed by anuswara or ganadim. The syllable is followed by the anuswara. Anuswara is a dot. Ardhe endulasitam, which is pronounced only half. Ardha. Tarena ruddham. It is often put as a dot on the top of the syllable. Tarena ruddham. Etattava manuswarupam. This is what has to be chanted as the mantra, where manaha, in the mana, this swarupa, this mantra has to be chanted regularly. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. So continuing further, Gakaraha Purva Rupam, Akaro Madhyama Rupam. So the first part talked about Ganapataye Namaha. That mantra is enriched, empowered by the Bijakshara. What is the Bijakshara? I don't like the English translation of it. Bijakshara, the seed alphabet or the seed syllable. It doesn't give the same punch in meaning or understanding. Every word uttered is energy or vibration expressed. Right? Sound is a vibration. It is an energy expressed. Every word has a certain energy to it. Every word. We may understand its meaning or not, but that word's power has a certain effect on those who listen to it. When you wake up early in the morning, if you ever, just before the sunrise, if you go into your backyard, there's so many, birds chirping, the cool breeze. The environment is so, especially these days, it's really crisp mornings. There's nobody who will complain, these birds, early morning. What dirty sound is it? Anybody who listens to it feels a certain amount of calming nature within. Or you go to an ocean, the roaring waves making that sound has a calming environment. So the sound has certain energy, and that energy has certain impact on those who listen to that. Bijakshara is that syllable which is supposed to be the most potent in terms of energy and the impact of peace and balance that it creates on the one who repeats it, chants it, or hears it. There are various such Bijaksharas. For the Ganesha mantra to empower the mantra, that syllable is called Gam. Gakaraha Purva Rupam. There is Gakara. Akaro Madhyama Rupam. Akara is added to it, then it becomes Ga. See, all the syllables in Sanskrit Varnamala, they are half. All the consonants, they are half. They have to be joined by the vowel to make it complete. So that until then it cannot be called Ga, it is Gakara. Add Akara to it, it becomes Ga. Then Anuswarascha Antya Rupam. There is an Anuswara, half Ma. But it is not to be written as half Ma, it has to go as Anuswar, Binduruttara Rupam. It has to go on the top as the Bindu, as the dot on Ga. Then it becomes Gam. So don't try to analyze this in your language, whatever is your native language. This is being explained in Sanskrit. Because you have a certain, some have strokes, some have jalebis, different Varnamala. This is in Sanskrit. So Ga and the top, Gam. Nadaha Sandanam. It has to always be adjoined. There are two meanings to this Nadaha Sandanam. One, it has to always go along with the mantra. Instead of just saying Ganapataye Namaha, you have to always say it as Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Or the other meaning of it is, that anyway is given, Gam Ganapataye Namaha, you have to say, add Nadaha to it. What is Nadopasana? Is Om. Add Om to it in the beginning. So it becomes Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Sagamhita Sandhihi. Then it makes it comprehensive. Samhita, comprehensive. Sandhi of Om with Gam with Ganapataye Namaha makes it a comprehensive Samhita. That Sandhi, the combination of all these makes it a comprehensive mantra. This is called Ganesha Vidya, or this is called Ganesha Mantra. Who gave this? Ganaka Rishihi. And this is given in Gayatri Chanda. Gayatri Chanda, Nichrad Gayatri Chanda, the most sacred, Nichrad, most sacred Gayatri Chanda. Gayatri Chanda is similar to Anushtup Chanda. Anushtup Chanda on one hand has 4 parts to it, 4 quarters, whereas Gayatri Chanda has only 3 parts to it. Each part having 8 syllables in it. So total number of syllables in a Gayatri mantra is called 24 syllables. And because it is written in that particular chanda, what is a chanda called in English? A meter. That particular meter. Therefore, all these mantras are called Gayatri mantras. But most of us recognize the moment we say Gayatri mantra, we recognize it in Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam. That also is called Gayatri mantra because it is in this meter. It is not the name of the mantra, it is the kind of the mantra. So here he says, Nichrad Gayatri Chandaha, this entire mantra is in Gayatri Chanda. And who is the worshipped, the ideal behind the idol? Ganapatir Devata. Lord Ganesha is the ideal, invoked. And the mantra is Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. This is just the mantra. What is the Gayatri of this mantra? that is said, repeat after me the 8th. Is it the 8th? Yeah, the 8th mantra. Ekadantaya vidmahe Vakratundaya dhimahi Tanno dantif prachodayat. You would know somebody who has, what background they have when they are chanting this. If they end it with Tanno dantif prachodayatu, when they end it with tu, they must be from Andhra. Prachodayat, it is a takara. Okay. Ekadantaya vidmahe. Vidmahe, may we know, may we realize. Vidmahe. With dhatu, vidmahe. May all of us realize. What? Ekadanta. Ekadanta. That Ganesha who is also known as Ekadanta, one-tusked one. Vakratundaya dhimahi, for which may us all meditate upon, dhimahi, meditate upon. Who? Vakratunda. Vakratunda, the one who is also recognized as Ganesha, the one having a trunk which is turned, crooked. Crooked nahi, turned. The turned trunk shows the preparedness, the readiness, rather than the straight trunk. So Lord Ganesha is always ready. Such ever ready Ganesha, let us meditate upon. Dhimahi. Tanno dantif prachodayat. The tusked one, Ganesha, may he always inspire us. Prachodayat. May he always enthuse us by constantly remaining as that which we have meditated earlier. Tvam Shaktitrayatmakaha. You are the very form of knowledge, you are the very form of wisdom, you are the very form of all these different attributes that we have seen. May he reflect in our day-to-day life with that wisdom shining through our intelligence, so that our day-to-day actions are performed meticulously. Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaya dhimahi tanno dantif prachodayat. So the entire mantra would be thus. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaya dhimahi tanno dantif prachodayat. So that when you are doing the upasana, this entire mantra has to be memorized and constantly be chanted upon, repeated upon. And as we have seen yesterday, that the mantra is the expression of the Jihva avatara of the Lord. So may we constantly repeat, may we constantly meditate, may we constantly focus on this Ganesha through this mantra. So mantra is one aspect of upasana. Through this mantra, what am I meditating upon? What kind of Ganesha are they indicating? So that description is given in the next mantra. I will not take that mantra now, I will just give you the introduction to that mantra. So today the upasana part, the meditation on that Ganesha and the Falashruti we will see tomorrow. This particular form of Ganesha has to be imagined not in the middle of your eyes or in your heart, but at the Mooladhara. Whatever is the description that is given, right in the middle of the Mooladhara, if you can imagine, visualize a most fragrant 4-petaled lotus, which is red in color, shining right in the middle. You know, the lotus has a stalk, and then right in the middle there is the form of Ganesha. And what is the color of that Ganesha? It will come. Raktam Lambodaram Shurpakarnakam Raktavasasam. He is in deep red color. And what is that color? You know, when you have a piece of iron, piece of steel, it is put in the coal. You know, the blacksmiths, when they have, it turns deep red color. That kind of burning amber color is the Ganesha. So you visualize, when you sit down, calm your breath and focus on that Ganesha at the Mooladhara, seated there. And when I am talking of Ganesha, it is not a murti. You know, when you are imagining, why be conjuice? Why be a miser in our imagination? See, I learnt about this misery of miserness in our imagination. I had taken these Balvihar kids to a seashore. So these 2 kids were playing there, and the sister, you know, they were playing home. The sister, the older sister, was playing like the mother, and the younger brother was forced to play like the father. So he comes home, so sits down and says, "Is there anything to eat?" So they are just imitating whatever they see daily at home. So, you know, she pulls that hand of that child and then takes some sand and puts like this, and another bit of sand like this, and like this. Kya? What is it? And this is like 4-year-old, 6-year-old. The enacting was so beautiful that day to watch. So, kya? So she says, "Savere ki puri, kal ki sabji." You know, that puri that was left, you know, from the morning breakfast, whatever was left, that yesterday's, you know, some curry. और चटनी खराब हो रहा था इसीलिए, and the chutney is, you know, it was anyway getting wasted. Before throwing, I thought I would give it to you. So the brother looked at her vaguely for certain moments, and then he threw it down and he said, "After all, you are putting sand on my hand. Can't you imagine better?" I said, what a wisdom. Even in our imaginations, we are constipated. We don't have the magnanimity to imagine. So that small child says, instead of, you know, kal ki sabji, savere ki puri, you know, why don't you have garam garam jalebi, garam garam pakode, garam garam samose, garam garam chai? After all, it is sand. So when you are imagining, visualizing on that Mooladhara Ganesha, don't imagine a static idol. Then the upasana will never have any benefit. Enliven that Ganesha, a live form of Ganesha, who is in that golden amber, burning amber color. and imagine him with these attributes. What are those attributes? That we will see tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Daya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.